Hello, this is my project AsciiPets, encouraging real-life interactions with strangers through ambiguous commonalities. Imagine you're walking your pet and it sees another pet and you're being dragged to meet a stranger. This is the idea behind AsciiPets. This small handheld device is designed to scan for other devices within proximity. It will then alert the user, and once two users using the devices find each other, they will exchange commonality data and represent that in an ambiguous way. The goal of AsciiPets is to invoke curiosity and exploration in conversation between users. The user will first connect to the network of their Raspberry Pi Pico embedded in their AsciiPet device. Once connected to this network, they will have access to their personal profile dashboard, which they can customize with their interests, their passions, level of interest of each topic, and personality type through personality settings. This data will be stored on the device through a JSON file. When a user is alerted by their device, they will first receive a signal in the direction of the other AsciiPet. Once two users find each other, the AsciiPets will sync up, exchange commonality information, then light up in a pattern corresponding to their commonalities. The hardware of this device centers around the Raspberry Pi Pico 2W, which controls the LEDs, the e-ink screen, and stores the user dashboard and user information inputted in the dashboard, as well as controls the Bluetooth signal that detects the proximity of other devices to it. For the e-ink screen, we used a 1.54-inch e-ink screen by WeAct and controlled it through the Adafruit EPD library. For this project, we chose to use the e-paper screen to reinforce the emphasis on connection between people without the use of traditional screens and technology. So, for the low power consumption of e-paper screens, allowing the image to stay on screen while there is no power on the device. For the prototype, we used 4 RGB LEDs to signal to the user that there are other users, as well as display the commonalities through the colors on these LEDs. In the future, the use of a haptic motor will also be incorporated to increase feedback for the user and create a more immersive experience similar to that of a pet. The hardware of this device was soldered to a perf board and encased in a light permeable box. The web portal dashboard of this device bridged the access point networks that Raspberry Pi Picos can create, which then the users could connect to, and then the information was stored internally on the Raspberry Pi using a JSON file. The Raspberry Pi Pico is also used for its Bluetooth capabilities, where it's able to detect the address of nearby devices. Then, although not implemented, information would be exchanged between the two devices through detecting each other's networks, and then a commonality matching algorithm would be performed to find the commonalities between users. There exist many solutions similar to this, such as the 3DS's Street Pass feature, which collected information about passerbyers and allowed you to see who you passed that day with your 3DS. There was also Spotify's Blend feature, which finds commonality between users' music taste, and most commonly, dating apps such as Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, which people use to find commonalities with people and find real people in real life to have interactions with. Many other related works have also explored the idea of sparking conversations in conference-like settings through conversation sparkers, such as projects like iBan, Ticket to Talk, QSense, and the Jabberwocky. These projects used systems such as having two people's device light up in the same color so that they could find each other through a beacon, or other methods such as lighting devices up based on how often someone frequents a location through tags, and Also through wearable badges that would display a prompt that someone might want to ask about, or even memes. However, most of these works were created in over a decade ago and do not have the current context of cell phones being ambiguous, especially smartphones, where people might not be as enticed to talk with others because of that. Through a formative study with 11 users, we found that participants are not likely to approach strangers or have not in their present time. However, 45% of our users did classify themselves as introverts, while 36% classified themselves as ambiverts. We did find, however, that people would be more willing to approach strangers that might have something similar to themselves, and even more significantly, we found that if people knew they had something in common with the stranger, that they would want to talk to them and figure out what they might have in common with them. We also found that many people use the indicator of a shirt or pin indicating a shared interest as a big indicator of someone who would be easy to approach. Thank you for listening, and feel free to read the completed paper here.